Hi, this is Darren Mitchell and I trust you're enjoying a productive week so far. In today's video, I wanted to share some thoughts on a frustration I see out there with a lot of sales teams, and also I must admit I'm quite frustrated when I see this as well in working with sales leaders across many different industries. And that is this almost focus on micromanagement and managing by numbers almost to the exclusion of everything else. Now, my experience is I've experienced this as well, having a number of micromanagers over my career, and I must admit it's very, very frustrating when you've got somebody looking over your shoulder and always looking at the number on a spreadsheet without necessarily having the full context to what are the activities that are happening behind those numbers. And I'm not sure about you, but that can be very frustrating and can have an adverse effect on people's morale and certainly engagement with the team. And it's probably not the best way for a sales leader to develop trust within their team to micromanage and just focus purely on the numbers. Now, please don't get me wrong. Numbers are absolutely critically important, and we need to have achievement against targets and hopefully overachievement of targets, because revenue, sales, cash is king. So cash flow, we need that for a sustainable business. So I get that. But I'm seeing too many examples still out there in the marketplace where sales leaders are managing by absence. They are managing based on a spreadsheet, and they're having conversations with their sales teams based on the information that's sitting on a spreadsheet. They're not spending near enough time out there in the trenches with their team. They're not rolling up their sleeves, and they're not leading by example. In that process, they're not necessarily building a level of trust that we know is critical to ongoing and sustainable success. Now, this really came out. I had a conversation I was reflecting on yesterday, actually. Conversation last week with a guy, and I won't call his real name, but we'll call him Tom. And Tom has been brought into an organization, and he's been with this organization probably 14, 15 months. Now, this organization was looking to create a new niche in a new marketplace that they never had any penetration in before. So Tom was brought in to build that business from scratch. He had no existing customers, no existing pipeline. Literally, it was a blank canvas. And so he's invested 12 months of his time, blood, sweat, and tears, to get the business to a point where they are now ready to reap some significant rewards, and Tom really should be the person to be able to reap those rewards. He's built connections with people in industry that many others are envious of because they haven't been able to get access to these type of people. Tom has been able to do that. But the challenge for Tom now is he's got a new sales manager, and his new sales manager is simply looking at a spreadsheet and asking Tom, what are you going to deliver next week? What are you going to deliver in the next fortnight? Your numbers aren't looking that great. We might have to, and wait for it, we might have to revert to performance management. Now, this is very frustrating because Tom understands that the investment he's put in over the last 12 months is about to bear fruit. His sales manager has not spent 1 minute trying to understand the context of what Tom has done, nor has he spent any time understanding the activities and the process and the strategy that Tom has employed to get the business to where it is. What his sales manager is simply looking at is numbers on a spreadsheet and saying, you're not meeting your number, we need to have a conversation around performance management. Now, how do you think Tom's feeling right now? Probably not that great. And the key message for today is, guys, if you are finding yourself being forced to micromanage, and if you're finding yourself being forced to manage by spreadsheets, please ask yourself, why are you a sales manager and why are you a sales leader? If you're a sales leader who wants to make a difference and create a legacy and build an environment of sustainable success, and if you want to get to where I call exceptional, then sitting behind a desk, managing a spreadsheet and managing internal stuff is not the way to do that. You need to be investing in your team and thinking about what are the things we need to be doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to get the number that we need to get. So my belief here is micromanagement, and certainly performance management, is not necessarily the answer. Now, please don't get me wrong. Performance management has its place in sales leadership, and I have done that many, many times in the past, and no doubt we'll have to do it again at some stage in the future. But as long as it's done based on the right context, then it's going to be received in the manner that it's intended. If it's performance management based on purely a number without the context, without the understanding, there's a level of credibility that's missing for the sales leader, which actually impacts trust and ultimately impacts the environment in which that sales leader oversees within the team. Now, if you look at what exceptional sales leaders do, and just take a look at some of the exceptional coaches within sporting organizations, you very rarely now hear coaches speak about the end result. They know the scoreboard's there, and they know we have to hit this score and be in front at the end of the game, because that means we win. Now, scoreboards are a measurement of have we won or have we lost. Now, what coaches now do though, more than anything else, is they don't focus on the end result. What they do is they focus on the game plan. They think, okay, we've got 4 quarters of a game. If we are in front at the end of the game, then we win. But in order to be in front at the end of the game, there are certain things we have to be doing in quarter 1, in quarter 2, in quarter 3, and in quarter 4 to give ourselves the opportunity to be in a position to win the game. Now, too many sales leaders are simply fixated on the end of the game and focusing all of their energy on the number and wondering why they're not hitting the number. I worked with a number of organizations, and one in particular a couple of years ago really understood this. They were having some struggles and some challenges around their market share and market penetration, and they found they were focusing far too much on the end number or the scoreboard. So we worked with them and started working on, okay, what is your game plan? The game plan is, what do you need to do in the first quarter to give yourself a really strong start? Not necessarily to win the first quarter, but to position yourself and generate some momentum to then get the next quarter and the quarter after that in terms of key activities. And it really did come down to, what are the activities and the areas of focus, the tactics and also the strategies that we wanted our sales team to focus on in the first 3 weeks of a quarter or the first week of a quarter that would set ourselves up and position ourselves to take advantage of in the next quarter and the quarter after that. Because what they found is, if they then managed people based on the activities, then they could actually change the course along the way and didn't have to worry about necessarily the scoreboard, because if the activities were done well, and if the leaders, and this is the key point, if the leaders spent time with their team in the field, side by side, enacting those activities at the same time, they could adjust along the way, and any performance management that was done, it wasn't performance management, it was correcting performance. They had the opportunity to see where they were heading and they could adjust as they went, because they were focused on the key activities in each single quarter. And this is what happened. When they focused on the key activities for each quarter, miraculously, some might say, the numbers took care of themselves, because they had built momentum and they could adjust along the way to say, where we're at against this. Yes, they still had some milestones to hit along the way. They needed to think, well, we need to be within plus or minus a percentage of our quarterly target or our monthly target in order to give ourselves the opportunity. But it was focused on the activities that drove the number. It wasn't based on the number. And the key point, the biggest point out of all this, is the sales leaders rolled their sleeves up and they got involved in the game. They weren't simply sitting in the stands barking instructions and expecting the team to understand what they were doing. They had to show the way, because they understood the leader that shows the way is the leader who ultimately gets the results, because they're invested in the process. So ask yourself this question. Are you, as a sales leader right now, spending too much time behind a desk looking at spreadsheets? Now, it may well be in times of isolation you've got to do that, and I get that. But metaphorically, are you still involved in your team in the daily activities? And have you sat down with your team and worked out what are the key activities that need to be put in place that will follow in order to give ourselves an opportunity to hit the number, so that at the end of the quarter, at the end of the month, at the end of the 6 months, and at the end of the year, our number will take care of itself. Do that well, and there won't be any need for micromanagement, and certainly won't be any need for performance management. So I trust that message resonates. If we haven't connected, I'd love to connect with you. Send me a LinkedIn connection request and I'll be sure to accept that. Also, any comments down below, that'd be awesome. And look, if I can help you in any way, shape or form, I specialize in working with sales leaders and helping them become exceptional, and also working with their sales teams to drive more sustainable results. If you'd like to have a chat about how I might be able to help you, simply go to leadwithdarren.com and pick a time that is convenient for you, and I'll be sure to give you a call. And until next time, continue to push the envelope, continue to get involved with your team and set the example, and please don't micromanage. Have a great week. All the best.